Breaking news, Tesla is moving some of its cash into Bitcoin. How much of it? $1.5 billion. If you haven't seen the news article, check it out because this is substantial. The amount of cash that is moved is about 15% of their cash holdings. In a lot of ways, Elon Musk, he's been tweeting a lot about cryptocurrencies recently, so it seemed quite inevitable. And in a previous video, I've actually touched about some of the trends for 2021. This is something I mentioned. Companies are now facing a lot of pressure to move some of its cash into cryptocurrencies. And let me pull up what I've shared in this previous video. Corporates are really adopting cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in particular. And I believe that as more companies start to move in, other companies that are not involved, they feel the pressure to adopt something also. And 2021, they could snowball. Now in this video, I'll be breaking down with you what Tesla actually filed with SEC, the exact wordings, as well as what kind of things have been mentioned in its filings itself. The second part I'll be touching on is ramifications on the financial markets that will come in the years ahead. So if this interests you, continue watching on. Hi guys, welcome back. Now let me share with you what I've actually found out from Tesla's filing with SEC. Let's run through the wordings because there's important things that we can pick up from there. So it starts off with this. In January 2021, Tesla has updated their investment policy to allow more flexibility, diversify and maximize returns on their cash. Now, where are they going to invest into? They're going to invest in alternative reserve assets, including digital assets, gold bullion, gold exchange traded funds and other assets. Now, as of this moment, they have not bought anything in gold yet. They've only bought Bitcoin. How much of it? $1.5 billion. That is a significant amount in a lot of ways. So let's move on to it. So I've also found out in terms of the operating expense trends, something interesting that they've mentioned. They are going to begin to accept Bitcoin as a form of payments for their products in the near future, subject of course to laws and initially on a limited basis. They may or may not liquidate upon receipt. Now what does that mean? It actually means that they may accept payment, and once they collect the Bitcoin, they are not going to liquidate it. They may intend to store some of their cash holdings as Bitcoin. Again, that would mean that they'll build up their base of Bitcoin over time, because if they accept payments and they are not liquidating it, the Bitcoin holdings that they hold will increase over time. Now let's move on further. Tesla will be holding this Bitcoin as an indefinite-lived intangible asset. Intangible, that's true. Indefinite-lived, that part, not too sure about it yet. So under applicable accounting rules, accordingly, any decrease in the fair value below the carrying value for such assets at any time subsequent to acquisition will require them to recognize impairment charges. Now that's actually correct. Accounting rules always advocate prudency, which means intangible assets, for example goodwill, if they are impaired, a company should reduce the value on the book itself. And if we move on, they've also mentioned that they may not make any upward revision for any market price change until a sale. Now this Bitcoin is not held as current asset and the price change is so frequent. In any case, I think the accounting rules now are still very new to it. So this is also potentially correct. So they can hold it at book value until a sale. So that part, not too much that we should speculate on also. Now what we can conclude is Tesla intends to hold more of its cash away from US dollar into Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and even gold in future. So they've expanded the mandate. But it's actually not too extreme yet. Unlike this particular company, MicroStrategy, which as of last year caused quite a lot of hoo-ha, simply because they're moving a lot of their net worth as a company into Bitcoin itself. And while they are looking very smart now, it actually creates a lot of challenges to the shareholders because Bitcoin movement is going to affect the book value a lot more as compared to Tesla. 1.5 billion was big, it's also not a lot of Tesla. So what are the ramifications? There are three that I've identified that I'll be sharing with you. And before I get there, smash the like button so more people can see valuable content like this. The first ramification is quite obvious. Firms are going to be pressured to accept Bitcoin moving forward. But before I conclude on that, let me show you this also. Bitcoin transaction speed is very slow as of now. There are actually solutions. If you are a crypto expert, you do know there are alternatives to it. But as of now, crypto transactions are actually quite slow. Unlike, for example, Visa, which can transact thousands in a second itself, Bitcoin transactions are slower. But that also means that firms that don't transact that often, like car sales, you don't sell like 1 million cars a day, unlike McDonald's, which has so many transactions. Firms that don't process so many transactions a day, don't have too much of an excuse moving forward to not accept cryptocurrencies. Now, firms like Tesla, which has operations and sales globally, also benefit from cryptocurrency transactions. They can avoid on hedging as well as foreign currency exchange hassle. So cryptocurrencies may help them actually simplify their operations moving forward also. And that means that companies such as General Motors, GM, or even Volkswagen, which is the number 2 player in sales right now, they are also pressured to move towards accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment moving forward. So do look out for them, because Tesla is now leading the way in terms of this revolution. Now, the second ramification, which is also quite obvious, is that more and more S&P 500 firms will be pressured to move some of their cash into cryptocurrencies, or if not Bitcoin itself. Now, moving to Bitcoin is nice, but again, it creates hurdles in terms of audit, correct? S&P 500 firms have to be regulated. And I believe that one simpler solution would be to move the exposure to Bitcoin through trust itself. And one trust in particular is GBTC, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Now, this is the biggest Bitcoin trust around. They allow exposure to Bitcoin simply by buying this trust. They own Bitcoins itself. So firms, rather than owning Bitcoin where there are security reasons, they can actually buy into these trusts and buy and sell, liquidate it much more easily. So I do believe this will be an ongoing trend, and it actually solves the audit issues for S&P 500 firms. For Chinese tech firms, I think they will not be moving in the direction. Chinese regulations are different. So only probably American firms as well as international firms will be incentivized to move more of their cash into Bitcoin itself. Now, I do believe that this will create upward pressure in terms of the demand if each and every S&P 500 needs to move some of its cash into Bitcoin. And in that case, yesterday when the news was announced, I actually tried to log into CoinHeco, which is the platform I use now, and it was actually jammed up because there's so much traffic, I guess. But in any case, I'll be doing reviews on CoinEcho platform as well as other platforms if you are a new investor into cryptocurrencies. And diversifying a small portion of net worth makes sense in a lot of ways. Firms like Tesla have done that already. More and more firms will be doing it already. So I do believe holding some of your net worth there reduces your risk actually over time. The third ramification is that I believe US dollar is again being challenged as the reserve currency of the world. Now, I actually heard of this concept that US dollar will eventually erode. That was back in 2007, 2008, whereby there was the first time quantitative easing. And I remember an investor, Mark Faber, he actually called QE infinity because US government would just keep printing money. And that's actually happened. But at that point of time, there was a lot of hype about gold. Gold being back to the reserve currency, replacing US dollar. But that has not actually materialized. If I'm not wrong, no firms have actually diversified their monies too much into gold itself. But right now, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin in particular, is proving to be a real challenge to US dollar. And I believe this tipping point has actually started. Tesla has started the movement. More S&P 500 firms will diversify their US dollars into cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. And once that happens, that snowball effect will really challenge US dollar as a reserve currency. Now, leave your thoughts below. I'll be keen to hear from you also, because this third point is pretty long term. It's not going to happen in the next few years. But if you think super long term, firms which owns assets in US dollar, it does not make sense to hold for more than 10 years really. So leave your thoughts below. I'll be keen to hear from you. And with that, let me introduce you back to the previous presentation I had, which is trends for 2021. I think you've seen the presentation. It could really help you shape your thinking as well as opportunity seeking for 2021. So with that, I'll see you there. Take care and goodbye.